Hey guys, welcome back to What Next? And this week we're going over this early 80s classic, Trading Places. Now again, if you have not seen this one, please do yourself a favor and go ahead and watch this one. I actually recently watched it again and it still holds up to this day. I mean, the movie came out in 83, so you're talking probably filmed early part of 82 maybe. So all these years later, it still holds up. Great comedy classic by director John Landis. If you don't know who John Landis is, take a look. Great director, had a great career. This one is an absolute classic. You got Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, and Jamie Lee Curtis starring in this one. And they're probably right at the beginning of the heights of their careers, to where they're starting in their comedy cinema profiles. So again, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and go ahead and watch this one. So let's dive into it. You guys who have seen it, you know the movie, you know the plot, you know the ending. So again, I went ahead and watched this one again myself a few days back. Just wanted to go ahead and give myself a refresher on this one to make sure my notes were good. So I did have a lot of questions on this one at the end. So let's just jump into it too. So first you have, I thought you had a really good cameo by Jim Belushi, which is crazy. So he's the guy on the train. So his character, I always kind of wondered what happened with him. He gets essentially knocked out, and then he wakes up and he walks into their car and he's like, hey, look at me, I'm in my underwear now. But I always laughed at that because I'm thinking, how did he not notice his gorilla suit on the guy in the cage that in the car where he woke up? Figured he'd have came to and looked around and said, hey, there's my my gorilla suit on this guy in this cage. But nope, he wakes up, walks literally into the next car and says, hey, look at me, I'm in my underwear. And everybody cheers. So I always thought that was a little weird, because I always wondered what would have happened next with him. Like, did he... Well, clearly he didn't go looking for his gorilla suit, because they show it at the end still on the character Beaks. So yeah, I thought that was just a weird little cameo and role for him. So clearly he got off the train and seemed like he was a funny guy. So, but yeah, let's dive into some of the major characters on this. So let's start with, so we got Dan Aykroyd playing Lewis Winthorpe. His girlfriend at the time is Penelope when the movie starts. So watching her, she kind of just jumped from dude to dude. Like, as soon as he got in trouble, she went and got right with like his rival. Like, full on, they look like they were about to get married. She just went day one. This Todd is his name. Todd says, oh look, he's in trouble, you should come hang out with me. Boom, she goes right away. I was like, okay. So I wondered at the end of the movie, given how there are in a kind of like a tight-knit circle in a sense, I always wondered if she felt dumb or bad after, like, I should have just stuck with poor Lewis here, because it turns out he was innocent. And then at the end he becomes, I don't think they technically say how rich he is, but he's definitely a multi-millionaire by the end of the movie. So I always just wondered if she kind of had, a little bit of sour grapes or jealousy, or just like, kicked herself in the butt for, maybe I should have hung on and been a little truer as a companion, and not just, dump him so quick and go for this other guy who clearly was going to take care of her. She seemed like she was one of those, I'm going to be a, trophy wife type. So she just wanted someone that was going to give her that life, which is fine. But it just seemed like, I just wondered if she always kicked herself in the foot for doing that to him. Who knows? Again, and then you got Lewis's group of friends. He had those 4 guys that were kind of like his rivals. They were kind of, they're all frenemies. It looks like they might have went to school with him. They were clearly jealous of him because of his success. He was running that, he was running that firm. So he was, a little superior to them, and he played it at first. He walked in, you could tell he was, hello boys. And then oh, hey, because they had to listen to him. So, but of course, when all this went sideways for Lewis, he's end up trading places with, Eddie Murphy's character, they totally shut him off. So I'm wondering if after the fact, they just kind of felt like, oof, shouldn't have been so harsh on the guy. Look at him now. He did good. He's rich. So they probably start kissing a little butt, in my opinion. You got the Duke brothers. The Duke brothers are kind of the main villains in these. They're the ones that set everything in motion. with Dan Aykroyd's character and Eddie Murphy's character, you got Lewis and Buddy Love. That's his name. Or Billy Ray Valentine. Sorry, I'm thinking of Nutty Professor. So Billy Ray Valentine is Eddie Murphy. So they're the ones that are responsible for this switch. Now, at the end of the movie, we all know they end up losing all their money and essentially having to kind of sell all their assets off. So I always wondered what would have happened. Maybe a quick scene showing their house being for sale or getting repoed. Something to show kind of like at the end of the movie, like the big trading place was actually them. Because Lewis and Billy Ray essentially end up trading places with the Dukes. They end up having the fortune. They end up probably having, the high life, probably starting their own firm. So to me, that was truly the trading place of the movie. So I always wondered, where you would have seen those two going. Had they been living on the streets, what would have happened? And I always thought it was kind of weird. You never saw a wife out of them. The opening scene where you see the two of them, they're coming down their own sides of the stairs in this big mansion. So I'm curious if they even had wives or if they all lived together in one big house like that. That was a little weird thinking about it now. I know Penelope's their god niece, so I don't know. That was weird. It just made me think of like, where are their wives and are they all living in one big mansion together? So I'm assuming they come from maybe wealthy families. So I don't know how hard the thing would have hit him at the end, but who knows? So now we got, and then Coleman. Coleman's the butler. He's kind of in the middle of everything. He feels bad for Lewis. He does like Billy Ray at the end, and then he does end up helping both of them at the end. Gives them their money so they can go into the stock market and go trade the orange juice to where they make all their money. So now Coleman's rich. So I'm just kind of wondering what happens to him. Does he just retire? He's on that island, or does he? Obviously, I think he does retire, but I'm curious as to what he would have done after. Like, does he kind of just chill off on his own, or does he walk around? Maybe he starts a business. Like, who knows? But it was just a question mark on him. Like, where would his character have gone developmental wise? But then let's get into the top three. So you have Ophelia, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, her character, she was a hustler, to say the least. So I'm curious now that Lewis has kind of made her a millionaire as well, and she did want to retire. So I'm curious what she does with herself, because she seems like she was a very ambitious person. Now that they both clearly have a lot of money and could probably just retire if they wanted to. So I was just curious, does she just retire and kind of be trophy wife to Lewis? Do they go into business together? Does she start her own, type of deal? Because she does seem like she was, hustler mentality. So I'm definitely hoping she doesn't go back to her profession in the movie, if you guys know. So, I was curious on that. Now, you got Lewis. Lewis, I was just like, what was next for Lewis? He got his revenge on the Duke brothers. He made his fortune back, actually richer than he was when the movie started. So it's just, where does he go from there? Would he have another issue with the rival? Does he just, because I don't see him retiring. I think he's just so business-minded with the stock market trade that I think he just keeps going. I would have seen him opening up his own firm, definitely having his own, company, and, watching it grow. As far as any new villains for him, who knows who could have came up, maybe like the Revenge of Todd, his rival, could have came in and helped out the Duke brothers to get revenge on him. Now, Billy Ray. Now, is it just me, or in that last scene where he's relaxing on the beach, is he in an orange Speedo and a sweater? So if you guys go back and watch that, let me know, because to me it looked like he's wearing an orange Speedo and a sweater, chilling on the beach. So, odd combination. Yeah, I was just like, did I really see that? But who knows? So for him, he was kind of, never really rich type of guy. Now he's probably got tens of millions of dollars. So I'm curious where he goes to. Does he, go off of what he's learned from all this? Is he, a better guy for it? Does he have a new rival? Does he go into business with Lewis? Who knows? There was a lot of alleyways he could have gone. But let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching this week, and tune in next week for another one. Thanks, guys.